incredible. Meanwhile, they do the Jobs Act, which the Republicans pushed and President Obama signed. In fact, they were all so proud of it. Watch this.
If these entrepreneurs are willing to keep giving their all, the least Washington can do is to help them succeed. I plan to do that now by proudly signing this bill. Thank you very much, everybody.
Well, it was nothing to celebrate at all. Now, we find out what was in the Jobs Act, and it makes fraud easier. And honestly, we knew this before the president signed it. That's why we told him, don't sign it. What the Jobs Act does is it rolls back rules that prevented analysts from talking up a stock to win business. In other words, talking it up through their lies in some instances, because they won't be held liable for that. They also won't be held liable for pre-prospectus misrepresentations. Who does this help? It helps scammers. And firms are exempt from independent accounting for up to 5 years after they go public. In other words, run your scam for 5 years, and then maybe we'll look into it. Well, a guy that Matt Taibbi talked to is a former regulator. He said, I thought I had lost the ability to be shocked, but this thing is just inspired. They broke the mold with this one. To the degree that gives you a sense of the degree that fraud can happen. Well, I want to bring in an expert here. It's Mark Morze, and he's an expert, honestly, because he committed the fraud. In the 1980s, the Z-Best carpet cleaning was one of the biggest fraud cases that there was in the country. And he spent 5 years in jail. But now he's lecturing, talking about why it's a bad idea and how you can catch other people who are doing fraud. Mark, great to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. Now, talk to me about this particular act here. Why do you think that it might open the door to fraud?
Well, I'm not that concerned about the sophisticated, accredited investors. They are buyer beware. They're millionaires. But what this bill does is it allows people that are what are called unaccredited to invest up to 10% of their income in a stock that they saw advertised on the internet. And these are people who probably can't do the due diligence. And the danger with this is that each company that goes on the internet and advertises can raise up to $1 million. So my question was, what's to stop me from incorporating 20 new companies tomorrow, having a good campaign on the internet, getting $1 million for each one of those companies, and then just one by one over the next couple of months say, oh, it didn't work, my business model was bad, we're broke. I pocket $20 million and I walk off, and there's no provision in this Jobs Act to regulate that in any way, shape, or form.
Now, look, crowdfunding sounds like it might not be a bad idea, because I thought about it for the Young Turks many, many years ago when we were starting. Hey, you get the fans to give some money. Now, if you're honest, maybe that's not a bad idea, but what does it do in terms of the scammers? How does that give them a leg up in being able to push their fraud?
Well, one, crowdfunding is a great idea. And all of these bills are passed and regulations are passed with super great intentions. I don't doubt that for a minute. And they're not passed by idiots. But what happens is devious people like I used to be, Accidon used to be, can look at these things, and it took me just a few seconds looking at the bill to see some fatal flaws, Achilles' heels. You mentioned one about not having to give audited statements for 5 years. But the minute I saw this, I thought, I put together that scenario that I just told you, and I thought, what's to stop me from doing it? And the answer is nothing. So what happens is, a lot of times regulators and lawmakers, and I hate to say this, should call back guys like me and say, is this worded well? Is this a good idea? Because if it is, I can say, yeah, I couldn't get around this, but in this one, I got around it in 25 seconds.
Mark, we got to leave it right there, but thank you for lecturing people on how to avoid this. Unfortunately, of course, Washington doesn't listen. All right, we'll be right back.